jumped onto the Discord just to see what it was about and got swarmed by people who both wanted new opinions and wanted help with things, and I was hooked.
Nice. So would you say like it was because of the plague event that got you more interested? Because there was the lower buy-in in terms of like a pledge package being sort of rewarded for free. Did that have anything to do with sort of your interest and you taking the initiative to step into the CUE community?
Could you try that one more time?
So did the offer of a free pledge package have anything to do with you taking the initiative to finally step in and join the CUE community?
I would have probably joined without it, but not gonna lie, free stuff is the best stuff. So
That's fair. Um, and do you feel like you would want to? Because I know that this is a question that I hear a lot. Do you feel like you would like want to upgrade your pledge package now that you've sort of become ingrained uh
oh,
with the CUE
absolutely.
community? Nice. So I think,
Definitely. I was doing a spreadsheet on how much money I'm probably going to lose into this game before we even launch, just for all the various things I want to add.
oh man. So I know your wife is very much into all the animals. So are you going to end up buying a lot of otter bear cubs? Is that like your fate? Is that what's going to happen?
Yeah, we'll probably split custody of the otter bears.
Nice. So that's really interesting to hear that like from a person who's just joined the community to uh, actually want to not only like do work but also spend more money for pledge packages. So I definitely think uh, the intention from SBS of getting people into the community and actually wanting to spend more money with sort of the lure of $45 off seems to be working. What do you think from looking at like how people are interacting so far from just within our own community and maybe not within the COE Discord if you haven't been checking it too much? Do you get the
I
sense
took a
of
look at COE Discord and ran away pretty quickly, but with the Cremoria group, it's been interesting to see how many people showed up, starting off just wanting free stuff, and then quickly became really organized. How fast they started joining the culture and wanting to contribute, asking how they could get to T2, when they need to show up to turn in Purity or Plague. It's been really interesting seeing how fast an organizational culture comes together. I haven't seen that in many other games.
Yeah, for sure. And certainly Chroma is not the only one doing it. There's a lot of other organizations that I've been seeing and really appreciating their efforts. Um, and I'm really hoping that within the next week or so that more of the groups not only just are this insular thing, but can actually reach out and talk to one another so that no group is an island unto themselves. And so now I think working from like the like more corporate culture of like Cremoria and actually branching out to be this larger community culture, I think is probably where we might see the next steps. You think it's possible? I know you said you ran away from the Seaweed Discord, but would you want to be more uh, into the Seaweed community at large, or do you think you want to stay more within the confines of safety of Cremoria?
We'll see how that goes. It depends on how interested the various groups are in talking based on facts rather than anecdotes. I know some people in every group are doing a deep dive on what data they can get into. It'd be interesting to talk with other groups if we're all working from the same page, where at least we're all being data driven rather than what we think works well. But I'm really impressed at the culture of Soulbound Studios as well, and how much they're interacting with the community, even over a weekend where they're running an event. Their event team's putting in, I don't even know how many hours. So it's very obvious they have a lot of passion for this game they're working on.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's one of the unique things that I've seen about SBS is that they do run these events. Their devs are readily available, even during the night or like on weekends when you would particularly find devs to be just not around. Um, has that been like, is that an unusual thing for you? Because I know you played a lot of MMOs, and we've certainly played a lot of pre-game stuff in the past before, or were on opposite sides for the pre-game of other games. So is this unusual to see SBS not only do an event like this, but to be so active.
I've seen other MMOs try to run events, but I've never seen one as well organized as this one is, especially considering that you can drop into the COE Discord nearly any time of day and see at least a dev lurking to see what's going on or commenting or giving uh, hints that somebody's data might be accurate or that something is or isn't a good idea. So the idea of doing an event, maybe, but an event done this well with this much community involvement and the regularity of their dev journals is outstanding. I've never seen any game be this open with its development.
I'm glad to hear that, for sure. Because I've certainly seen this is an unusual thing. From like other games like Pathfinder Online, which we're both from, to like Repopulation or any of the other sort of sandboxy games. I've never really seen the devs be this active before. Um, and certainly this like direct and open with the community. So that is really nice to see, and I'm glad to see that people that are new to the community also are seeing how active the devs are. I believe Serpentius actually is a robot and does not sleep. Prove me wrong. But so do you think from seeing this, because you've been with us from the start of the Plague event, do you think we have a chance of winning this, Damocles?
It's gonna be close. It's gonna require most organizations getting a lot better coordinated with each other. I know some organizations are having a huge excess of plague early in the morning or when they have various members at work are unable to use their abilities. I don't know what the oceanic or European organizations are able to do, but if you could start, if people could swing plague one way or the other to whoever's available, that might do it. It's doable, but I think we're gonna have to be a little better organized than we currently are. That outbreak bar is growing faster than I'd like.
It certainly is. I think that there's two camps at the moment. And I certainly fall into one of them, and I'm interested to hear what you think might be best, considering I know your love of spreadsheets or your love of people imposing spreadsheets onto you. Um, but I think there's two camps, which is one is just cure all of your plague first, and then ramp up, and just continuously ramp. And then there is the let's all hope that there is some really nice cure bar rewards just waiting beyond 15% or 20% that could maybe change the course of this game for us. And so those are the two camps that I'm seeing that are kind of duking it out that on like a daily basis on the COE chats. Um, do you have a particular viewpoint on like either of those two groups, or what you might think is best as a method to conquering this plague?
While I haven't done as much work with the numbers as other people, it makes so much more sense to me, at least, to ramp up to the better roles like Sage to churn out a huge amount of purity so you can continually ramp up your economy, as it were, so you can cure more people faster. It costs 180 purity to get one person purified. But with that 180 purity, you could create 6 sages, and 6 sages generate what, another 160 plague a day or purity a day.
Yeah, man. That's certainly one of it, because I definitely think we need to do. So my opinion is kind of a both a thing. We need to be better with the morning dump, which for anyone that's not aware of the morning dump, it's the hours between the last 4 hours between the daily reset. For me, as Eastern time, that's from 8. No, it's from 8 to 12. Where everyone is dumping. We're seeing people with just hundreds of plague dumped in the morning, and some groups are able to neutralize it, some pretty well, but that is only going to grow larger, and so we need to at least start ramping a little bit for more Undertakers to stop the bar. It seems that we've been pretty effective. I was, and Dom was hearing me about this last night. I was really thinking we were going to hit 5% for the plague bar, but we only hit 3.9, I believe. So I was really floored by how little it changed, and I don't know if that's due to the counts or what's going on, or just the activity and people taking care of their plague or not. but it was nice to see that it didn't go up that high. But I think uh, probably I'm shifting a little bit to say that we need to do more for the cure bar. I maybe focus a little less on the plagued individuals for maybe like a couple of days just to see if there's any sort of magical bullet there that helps us. I mean, if it's another 5% increase, I think we're screwed. I think if it 5% increase was basically worthless. It was nice. It was a nice little gesture, but it felt to me like a honey trap where people got a little bit complacent that we were doing well. Um, just because we're not reaching the ramp that we need, and especially as we hit 50% probably within the next 6 or 7 days, that 5% is kind of meaningless unless we have some new way of generating purity or reducing the plague bar hidden away in those things. A small extra increase is very little. And I know the draws can only do so much, but sadly, unfortunately, 5% increases just aren't enough to change the outcome or the large swings that we're seeing. Uh, yeah, I mean, they were wiped out by those Genovas. Do you think that maybe there's a magic bullet hiding, Damocles? Do you hope in, or are you more of only math will save us?
I think a combination of math and cooperation is going to get this done. If people can share their plague more efficiently so it can get wiped out, that might help. If people can jump to their tier ones who were herbalists, which is decent but not as great as a sage, jump those guys to soldiers to start trying to hammer down that outbreak bar. I mean, if you've got people who aren't that active, the soldier instant is incredibly easy. You get a play or you get a purity, you put it in, the outbreak bar goes down. It's something for them to do, and at least the outbreak bar is going to get chipped away at slowly. I think it'll be interesting to see how this ends. It's going to be a bit of a nail biter.
Oh, for sure. I I'm really hoping that we hit a bar, and I think Cremoria is changing gears with the rest of the community, and I'm hoping that the other community buys on board for it to start pushing the cure bar up and seeing if there is some magical reward at 15 or 20%. If there isn't, I think if we do the cure bar stuff, we might be screwed. But I'm willing to take a moonshot, I guess. Um, but I do wonder if Cremoria or other groups that do switch from curing their plague to trying to push the cure bar, um, if that would mean we would see a lot more plagued individuals rebelling and just stop cooperating if they're not getting their promised purity and the timely fashion. So I think it'll be interesting the community interactions we see going forward and what strategies there are. But anyone watching this, I definitely implore to get with the Oceanic people, the EU people, and certainly Vornair's think tank. And I'm certainly never been really a big fan of Vornair, so me saying that should definitely let people know that it's a worthwhile endeavor to maybe start trying to push the cure bar and see what's waiting. If it's another 5%, I'm gonna yell at Sir for trolling all of us. But otherwise, I think if it's something nice that's not just a 5% bonus, that could be potentially very helpful. Um, but if it's a troll, then I think we're screwed. Uh, so, to talk more about the event and not about the strategy, what do you think about having the players in this sort of real mini game that's been real hard on me, considering I have bronchitis right now? Being able to sort of dictate not only the lore of the world, but the sort of the game state of the world in some aspect.
It's a good way to keep the community engaged since the actual gameplay is still quite a ways off, and some of you have been around a lot longer than I have. I mean, the dev blogs go back to 2015, so having something to keep the community engaged instead of going silent is well thought out, and it's very interesting how much lore they're putting into each step, each cure bar increase, each outbreak event. It's well written. It's very flavorful. I really like the idea of the nobility trying to throw a ball to distract from it, only for it to bite them. in the nether regions. I thought that was a very clever bit of writing that certainly paralleled how things often went in the real world. It's definitely engaging me a lot more, and it's giving me a very good opinion of the devs. They're definitely buying themselves some goodwill here.
Nice, because I know we played Pathfinder Online, which had its crowd forging thing where players sort of tried to do votes on things. Do you feel like this is a more effective system for players to have their voice heard um, in a way that we haven't really seen before from other games?
Yes and no. I think the devs were possibly a little unclear in that the plague winning is a bad thing. There is no upside to this. There is no super magic plague biome that has super plague beasts that you can tame or anything interesting there. The plague is just a pile of suck that will randomly take out one of your biomes for a little while. So I think the community might not have realized how hard they needed to fight this. But the fact that it's this involved and it's this well thought out and there's actually a realistic effect on the game world, it's definitely better than the events I saw for PFO for sure.
Because that was the one game that I remember that promised this sort of crowd forging where players were deciding, the story and the mechanics and what sort of was going to be available. So that there's a lot of comparison here. Not in the way the game was designed, because PFO was really just a vortex of awful, but in sort of their design goals of having the players' voices heard. I feel like this is to me um, sort of what was promised with those sorts of games where we get to actually have some aspect of influence and ownership over the story, even in the pregame, which you very rarely see the ability for ownership to be in the pregame.
It'll be interesting to see how the pregame goes on with Kingdoms of Illyria and seeing how that affects it. And it'll be interesting to see how quickly the aristocracy gets shaken up once people are in game. I know some people have sunk a ungodly amount of money into this game, and seeing how that shakes out, that's to me what makes this game so interesting, is that anything could happen. Kings could take over another kingdom, kingdoms could fragment, they could do anything. Any player could, I mean, it's the old saying, but any player could be a king if they just put it together, put in the hours. It'll be something.
For sure. So as a new player to the CoE community, what sort of mechanics or aspects are you most interested in as this new person? Because I'm always really curious on uh, obviously not only what makes people stay in the community and what makes people like actually interested in CoE in general. So is there a particular mechanic or theme or anything else that really gets you like hyped up for CoE to want to stay engaged with the community?
I'm really wanting to focus on the player run economy. I think the crafting system is going to be one of the more innovative things that's been brought into gaming for quite a while, especially for an MMO. And I think the logistics of running large kingdoms or counties or even towns is going to be very different than what we've seen before. But the technology system is just unreal. I've never seen a game deliberately add in content as the players do it. This is more of the crowd forging, where the more people are researching, say, boats, then they can realize they need to expand into boats sooner. Or if you're working on gliders or better longbows, it really lets them divvy up their art assets in a timely fashion. There's really just so many different mechanics that I'm interested to see, and that's what's interesting, is there's not one thing that's its unique selling point. The whole game is a unique selling point, really.
Nice. I think it's well said. Certainly for me, it got me interested was much of the same with the ownership of towns and the coups and all that can happen. I'm very much into the politics and diplomacy of games. So the fact that CoE has so much of that and so much of that is already going on really draws me in. And so with that, we're gonna shift gears a little bit to talking about your town and sort of its history and your group's history a little bit. So the town of Brighthaven, um, that did not start in CoE, did it? That started with PFO.
Yeah, that started off with a group called the Empyrean Order many, many years ago, where we wanted to play the good guys, as it were. It was simplistic, but we wanted to be people who would help out new players, fight bandits, and to attract the tabletop crowd to an MMO based on a tabletop game. And we ended up being a fairly large, successful group, but the game was less successful than we were. And we kind of drifted apart. But now, Fiery Wind, who is one of the main leaders of Brighthaven, is wanting to try to take that spirit and bring it into COE. And it's going to be interesting to see how many people want to come together under that banner of people who just simply want to help out their neighbor and to have fun gaming. We're not planning on anything all that huge. We just want to be a well-run, simple town. I mean, I imagine a lot of people have similar goals, but we've made it work before with a lot less in terms of gameplay.
Nice. So are there? We've been seeing a couple of the old Empyrean Order TEO folks that came from Brighthaven joining up with Cremoria over the last week. Do you think more of groups like that, like the bigger organizations, such as like Covenant of the Phoenix, for example, which is where TEO has its home, might take more of an interest now due to this event going on?
I hope more people will end up joining in, but considering how many people got burned by MMOs trying and failing, they might wait till it's closer to launch. But with so many different gameplay activities, Kingdoms of Illyria, the exploration phase, or whatever EP stands for, where people can actually get in the game and actually be a part of something before they'd have to have to have a huge time sink in it. I'm hoping we'll see a lot more people show up, but I also hope to see a lot of new people. I mean, PFO was my first real crowdfunded MMO, and now here I am jumping into another one really quickly. I'm hoping we'll get a lot more people who want to come in and not just play a game, but learn how to be leadership. I think that's what made Brighthaven so interesting. Is a lot of us had no clue how to lead, but we just jumped in and tried it. I'd like to see a lot more people do so. Definitely let Fiery Wind know if you want to try and learn. He's remarkably patient. I know he was with me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. He. I remember trying to get him into the game. Like, I took like an entire day just talking to him about COE, and he immediately just got bought in and hyped, and dropped any like desire to play like Catmull Unchained, and sort of bought in all in for COE. So it's definitely once I feel like you tell people about what COE can be, people end up actually really interested and really intrigued and even invested in the game. Because the idea is so like great and like everything that I've heard from sandbox gamers that they wanted for years. Um, so back to Brighthaven before we go on to this really crazy tangent. Is there anything that you're hoping that Brighthaven does, or what makes sort of Brighthaven unique, that you feel is different from maybe other groups or organizations? I get that you don't necessarily know all the groups and organizations that are currently existing in COE, but what do you feel makes Brighthaven stand out more than most?
The leadership is really focused on community involvement as well as backing up everything by math. Everything that Brighthaven does is researched out. We think it through. We figure out what the community wants to do. And it's very rarely feels like an organization that just tells you to do as a boss. It comes across as a friend asking you to do a favor. And that's the community spirit's what makes Brighthaven so solid. I'd put it up against just about any organization. And again, how well thought out things are, it's much easier to do a task if it makes sense. And that's what draws me to Brighthaven for the second time, is knowing that it's not going to be spinning in the wind, that it's going to be a solid experience all the way through.
Nice. So my question for you, and we'll start wrapping up because we actually don't have enough guests to make this go out to a full hour. We'll do a little. Nobody's really signed up, so we're not really going to do a giveaway, but I'll do a giveaway in the COE community. That's fine. So, do you have any cool, funny, or just interesting stories of Brighthaven's past to get people an idea of what they can expect from like Brighthaven or TEO of membership?
If you want funny stories, drop by the Cremoria Discord and ask Fiery Wind about coal mining and the value thereof, and you will get quite a lot of tales, lessons in economics, and how scarcity drives the market. You'll leave laughing quite a lot, and you'll have probably found a new home for gaming.
Nice. I think Serp sub, but I don't think Serpentius wants me to give him an Illyrian package. I mean, he's welcome to it if he likes it, because he and Shafaragon are the only people that subbed. Um, so I mean, Serpentius, contact me if you want an Illyrian package to play this game called Chronicles of Illyria. It's okay, Serpentius. It's just I was kidding. So this is a weird sort of stream. A lot of people are absent today because they are on holiday or they're very busy. So I thank you all for tuning in. I have a lot of plague stuff to do because oh my god, I'm doing like 12 hours a day, and certainly Damocles has been a real trooper with him and Fiery and the Brighthaven crew with this plague event. So I have nothing but praise for their involvements. But thank you all for tuning in. This is a little bit shorter show, just because we didn't have nearly as much to talk about and nearly as many people on a panel. So, thanks all for watching, and keep fighting that plague, yo.